that hard to understand. But anyway, when he said what he said, my jaw dropped. I was thinking, what on earth are you doing? It's one thing to say, look, I'm a social conservative. I believe in X, Y, Z, each to their own. But saying that gay people aren't normal, and by the way, he said equal. He then corrected himself afterwards. I said, you just said equal. You voted for gay marriage, so you believe in equality under the law, but you just said they're not equal. He said, no, I said not normal. So he did correct himself after then. And we didn't want to misrepresent that. So in the Twitter copy, in the article I wrote about this, I've not used that word equal. We've only focused on the point normal. I also said to him, do you mean typical? Because of course LGBT people are a minority. Okay, they're not typical. That's fine. Do you mean typical? No, he said, I mean normal. So this is somebody I'm interviewing, Michael. I'm putting questions to him, which are a big part of our audience really care about. And then
I think the thing with Aaron, right, is that I don't think Aaron realises that the majority of Galloway's life, his entire upbringing, it was. I don't think that it was cultural or social normal. Under that term, times have changed. It's quite a long time has passed. I mean, even before I was born, Galloway's going to have been a young man. I mean, just look at the laws that have been changed. I mean, they abolished the I've just been looking at some of the law for the Magna Carta, which Queen Elizabeth repealed. Barons and lords can be only judged by their equals, right? That was abolished in 1967, right? So, we're living in a culture where even, the peerage, they're not our equals, Galloway will have been, through 67, up till 67, legally, peers, not our equals. We're not their equals in society, in the law, by the word of the law. What's normal? Well, do you want to say the law is not normal? We're not equal to these people. If you... I mean, look at now, David Beckham, what's he worth? People like Beckham, football players, pros. I mean, what are they worth to a football team? They're worth money. I'm not worth any money to a football team. So I'm not the equal of them. How much money am I worth? Well, you'll say, well, how much money are you worth as a citizen? If you're ill and can't do any work, you're not worth any money. You're not an equal worker. If you can't do work because you're ill, right? Are you equal to an abled worker? Are you any use? If you get a crowd of people and you've got 50 factory owners, and they're looking for people to do work, are you their equals? If you're handicapped, this is it. Now in the world of Aaron, in the modern world, when we fast forwarded, even though in that time frame we've got, landfill, we've seen anti-cassettes and CDs are filled in between, so technology's gone to the skip, a big hop, skip and a jump forward, right? Now we've got, Special Olympics for disabled people, special, games where, men and women's shower rooms, Galloway's grown up. It wasn't normal, Aaron, right, for a woman to go in a man's toilet or a man to go in a woman's toilet, Aaron. That wasn't normal. But now, if you go, into the centre of Birmingham, into, the, wave machine swimming baths or whatever, you want to, go on, with a rubber dinghy or whatever, and in your, Borat swimming costume. I can imagine Aaron in a nice Borat swimming costume, it wasn't normal for a woman to be in the same toilet as a man, right? So, there's a lot of cultural shift going on. I mean, but even then, back then, England didn't have... They just didn't have, things like they do now. It was a different... Even in Europe, what I'm saying, in Europe, in France, where, you got a lot more different cultures and racial mix, even, Italy. England and Ireland was probably a lot less ethnically mixed, in the 1950s. So, but even then, right, when you've got more racial diversity and more racial mixture in Europe and Italy and France, they'd still, even with the racial mixture, there was a lot of things back then still, which, the male and female toilets and changing rooms, all that type of thing, So I think with Galloway, he's a very traditional person. A lot of parents are. A lot of grandparents are. It's just what they... I mean, some people have a progressive attitude or a slightly transitioned attitude from then till now. A hell of a lot of things have changed. I think Aaron, doesn't necessarily understand that some people have grown or are a certain thing, and they're likely not to change, just like a tree has grown trunks and branches in certain positions, and you ain't going to change them. I mean, it might grow a few new branches, but their main structure is set in a quiet way. A lot of grandparents are like that, Now, you might say, well, loads of other people, of attitudes have changed. There's been a lot of conditioning, on TV, a hell of a lot of content, in order to get the shift of the attitude. There's been, these soaps played day after day after day, get these characters in, get it all acted out, introduce some more ethnical characters, get the adverts on TV. They've really churned it. Not that I don't think that certain people are not altruistic anyway in nature, but there's a lot of conditioning on, and then there's all the chemicals filled into it as well. If Aaron is kind of like, some people are just a certain way, but that may be true. The percentage of persons who are, either, gay or whatever you want to call it, whatever, I don't even know what words you want to use when it comes to any kind of like, measurement of standardization or whatever, but if you're a certain way, fine, or if, you're who you are, but, there's still this kind of like, genetical lottery, and there's also conditioning and influence. Again, it's impossible to approach the subject until you categorize and filter all those things out, An incident happened here, an incident happened there, someone, did this or did that. Actually, so, if you judge the standard of norm by, I think when Galloway uses the word normal, right, regardless of whether Aaron takes offense to it or not, I think, like, Galloway's going by, like, the kind of, look at nature model, look at other, species and other diversity and so forth. He's using that kind of model, and I don't think there's anything wrong with using that model. I don't think anyone should be insulted by that model, And also I think that, I'll actually I'll throw this to Aaron, right? I'll throw this to Aaron because I think this is quite an important thing. For example, when people are under the influence of, certain, chemicals or recreational substances, which dramatically and drastically change people's perceptions, for a duration period of time, and alter people's emotions and, chemical balances and the way they think and feel about different people, I noticed that, you can become extremely friendly with the same sex, in fact, quite affectionate or even unnormally affectionate, to an extreme of affection. But that doesn't necessarily change your sexual feelings towards people, you can be completely and totally, separate from affection, and then, there are different things which affect other faculties and things like that. So, if, so you can experience these things and you can kind of, take a different perspective on it, so to say. But I still think that, it's a good example to, so you can see, if you can appreciate certain people are different, or certain people think and feel a different way, Galloway's never actually said that he would ban homosexuality. So, I think that's something. So I wouldn't knock him too much. I don't think that Aaron is taking Galloway for what he is, and for who he is. And, I've got plenty of grievances with Galloway. I've got plenty of things to say, Galloway contradicts this or that. I don't think Galloway really should have his channel while he's an MP, not in the way that he's doing it. Anyone can ring him up and talk to him about any political matter, to speak to the man. But when he's sat in Parliament, you can't speak to him about, he can't reply. But when he's on his TV show, the same man can talk about political matters to anyone around the world, So where's that Parliament rule come from? He's available. That man is available to speak to about politics and get a reply and an opinion on certain matters, which apparently he can't do in that capacity when he's in Parliament, but it's his Parliament channel. And further to that, if someone, comes in the side door and says, can you sign this for us, for Parliament, just reach his hand out with a biro and, put your signature on it, and then back to the conversation, and I'm acting in the capacity of, politics, because that's what we're talking about. We're going to have a telephone corner. George, what do you think about the speech you did in Parliament the other day? Well, I think this or that. Well, thanks for the reply. It says on Parliament channel that the man can't reply, but it says George Galloway MP. I'm not going to, I still watch Galloway and I'll still interact with him, and I know that he's doing some things that are, I'm in agreement with. But this is the modern world. There's a lot of illegal things going on in Parliament because they haven't sorted the law out, and then you've got Rees-Mogg on the front line as well, right? Encouraging it. And that as for McVeigh, and the TV are all going along with it. GB News, they're going along with it, encouraging it, more of it, but they're breaking the law. Just like with these speed cameras, if there's illegal road signs everywhere, and then it's, and then, you do this massive petition to try and stop it. They're ignoring that. Turns out that, police chiefs can't hold common pleas, yet everyone's admitting that they did it and they're guilty and they're getting the points put on their licence. But they never spoke to a court, So there's a hell of a lot of really huge, massive, illegal things going on at the moment, and then you got to throw all this into it as well. I don't really know where Novara Media have got a very odd position, because they're kind of like they've got programs that are questioning what's going on, questioning a lot of things that the government are doing, but yet then they've got their own kind of this kind of like anything goes super loose policy, which is loose. It's so loose and slack that, it's almost like it's like straight from the BBC. It's slacker than slack. It's so loose that it's like a serpent. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's so loose and slack that it's